Joey Balistreri. If you are new to my channel, if you are not new, I'm glad you're here. If you're new, I'm glad you're here. This is the very first video in a series that I've created for 2025 called Pearls Reimagined, not your Nona's pearls. Pearls are going to be a very big trend in 2025, but not the typical pearls that we probably all have. I pulled out a few, like this is a really long strand of glass pearls with the knots in between, and these are classic and timeless, and definitely don't get rid of them. I have had these since the 90s. I have had this strand of pearls since the 80s. This was an 80s look. These are glass pearls from Casual Corner. If you guys remember, I was the visual merchandiser for that company, and they did this Hamilton gold finish and did a lot of pearl jewelry. It was a really big thing in the 80s. And then Kate Spade is well known for her pearl and bow designs, so these may look familiar if you're a Kate Spade lover like I am. She did those, and she has done these with the larger bows and bracelets and necklaces to go with them. And incidentally, bows are also going to be a really big trend in 2025. The dressmaker details that we see in couture and that we see in the apparel industry are going to make their way over into jewelry. So things like corseting, lacing things up, bows, things that you can do with fabric and garments are going to be happening in our jewelry. I'm really excited about it. It's so pretty. So I do have 4 projects to do in this video, but before I start, I just wanted to give a little introduction. I did this bracelet on the Softflex Company's live stream, and it is kind of in the vibe of what I see, my viewpoint, my version of what's going to be happening with this trend. I put in a coin pearl and mixed it in with a meteorite bead from the Czech Republic and a Baroque stick pearl and added some wire embellishment to it. And then I mixed in some beautiful pewter pieces from Allegory Gallery, and nothing too contrived, nothing too lined up, just really a statement piece, but totally wearable and still elegant. So I've been collecting pearls for a really long time, and as I said, before I start on the designs, I wanted to share some things with you. This is what I'm looking for, and I also wanted to share some of my resources. So surprisingly enough, the Dollar Bead Box and Bag, it's called Dollar Bead Club, they have Baroque pearls. So I got these beautiful silver Baroque pearls from Dollar Bead, and everything's $1. So that's really great. They also have Czech glass pearls in some really beautiful colors, so and different millimeter sizes as well. So surprisingly, Dollar Bead is a really good resource if you are collecting pearls. I also have to say that probably my favorite glass pearl resource would be Potomac beads. I used to spend a fortune on the Swarovski glass pearls for my bead weaving bracelets, bead woven bracelets I meant to say, and when I discovered the Potomac pearls, they are just amazing, and I'm actually working with some in one of the projects, but they are glass pearls with an amazing finish. They have an amazing array of colors to choose from, and they're lustrous, and you also can go from a 2mm pearl. I think they go up to, I can't remember if it's 12 or 14 millimeter, but if you have a design in mind that you like a certain color, you can literally get that color pearl in any and every millimeter that you want on the Potomac Beads website. So I absolutely adore Potomac pearls and the Potomac website if you're collecting pearls. The other thing that's really cool to add in is some Czech glass discs, and these are some elements that make your pearls current and updated and a little bit edgy and, not looking like the pearls that June Cleaver wore from Leave It to Beaver, if you're old enough to remember that show, you know, wearing high heels and cleaning house in those pearls. The look is not that anymore. It's contemporary, it's chic, it's a little bit like runway, a little bit, you know, a little bit of a runway look, I think I would say. But adding in some check glass in metallics is a great thing to add in. Also, adding in, as I did in this bracelet, some beautiful little bit higher end elements like these beads from Allegory Gallery, also from Dollar Bead. There is this beautiful check glass acid etched oval bead, and you know, it's a check glass bead, but this is so beautiful with Baroque pearls. It's just an element that just seems to play nicely with it. And then the meteorite beads are really cool, or you know, nugget beads. They're really cool. These are also happen to be check glass, but you know, looking for nuggets and things that are really organic and a little bit chunky and with unusual angles is a great thing to add in with your pearls. And then when I'm traveling, I always, like, this came from a little bead shop that in South Florida. I was on a bead shopping trip and I picked up a little Baroque stick pearl. I cannot remember where I got this. I actually think that I rescued this off of a vintage necklace. I didn't mark it, but anything that you can find that's like unusual, and I do think that I'm going to look and see if there is a mark on the back that says what this is. No mark, but I think I took this off of a vintage necklace to upcycle it. So anything like that, you know, this is really weighty and chunky, that's a great addition. And then, you know, think about potato pearls and freshwater pearls. These are craft store items. The really, you know, just really easy to pick up. I've found these at Michael's. I have found them at Hobby Lobby and Joann's. And, you know, typically pearls are notorious for having tiny holes that sometimes can cause you problems. But on that note, I found large hole pearl beads at Hobby Lobby where they are drilled with a really large hole. So that gives you more design possibilities. You don't always have to be stuck with the small holes. And then I absolutely love coin pearls. They're just beautiful. I get good deals at bead shows on the coin pearls, but I recently found coin pearls that have a center drill hole, so they, you know, really become a disc bead. So the hole is right in the middle of these pearls, and these are from BB Craft. So, you know, they're not, they're a little bit more of an investment in, you know, because it's a gemstone. A pearl is considered a semi-precious gemstone. But if you love them and if you love the look, it is so worth it. These are also from BB Craft. Aren't they cool? These Baroque square pearl beads. They're just wonderful. I have a design in mind for this. I am so excited to add that to this video series. But those are some of the shapes and things that I am, you know, kind of collecting. And then these were from Dollar Bead. Again, these are freshwater pearls, but in a really large millimeter, and they just feel so good. I think these were 10 millimeter. Pretty sure they're 10. They might be 12, but they look like 10 to me. And then, you know, I love the Baroque stick pearls. So I actually found this strand from Lima Beads. And you'll see I'm working with them in one of my designs today. And just to show you, you know, an idea for the cost, this was a whole strand of 10 millimeter by 20 to 24 millimeter pearls, pearly white biwa pearl, and it was a 16-inch strand for $25. So, you know, they can be a little bit of an investment, but then when you make those pieces, they last a lifetime. They are semi-precious, and I just love them. So here's an example, and you're going to see this in one of my projects today, but the little 2 millimeter Potomac pearls in these beautiful colors. Like this is this colorway is, I think, called soft gold. I can't quite read my package, but you know, like these potato pearls, I picked these up at a craft store, and it's just the cool color. I mean, just that kind of pearlized gold is just so gorgeous. So I just wanted to share my collection and what you'll be seeing going forward in this video. If you haven't seen by now, Pantone has announced the color of the year for 2025. It's called Mocha Mousse. And I also was looking at some other Pantone colors that are going to be trending in 2025. And I was noticing that like the Mocha Mousse is here, but there's this cobblestone, there's this pearly, almost a gray, silvery, pearly gray color called gardenia, the rose tan, and there's a few even less pinky colors in the rose that look amazing with the color of the year. And you know, the pearls come in those colors, and you're going to see that some of the neutrals in my projects today. So we're going to dive into the projects. The first one I'll do is just super easy. I left one undone to kind of show you my design process, but I took one of those coin pearls that has the drill hole in the middle, and I took a ball head pin, and this is a solid brass ball head pin with a coating, and I just played in my stash with some components, and I am going to put this on a little ear wire with the chain and just have it dangle. But I wanted to show you my design process here a little bit. I was also playing with these decorative head pins that have like a little wildflower look at the end, and I was just playing. I had so much fun designing these. I put a disc on, then I put one of those center drilled pearls, and then this little puffy disc spacer bead and a crystal, and I got that look. In the end, I decided that this was the stack that I liked the best. I thought it was more contemporary, a little bit more minimalist, a little bit more clean lines. So that's the one I went with. But I just wanted to share with you how much fun you can have stacking your pearls with some of these cool shapes and elements that are a little bit edgy, a little bit current, modern, you know, have a contemporary vibe. So I will link some things in the description box underneath all of the videos in this series, some decorative head pins, anything that I have collected up that I know where I got it and that I can share with you. Check the description box. So if you're interested in kind of following along or doing some of your own designs in this vibe, there'll be at least a starting place for you. Maybe it will save you some time. So this is super simple. A ball head pin, and I'm just going to repeat this little stack. I'm going to put my little spacer bead, and these, by the way, are from Purity Beads. They're solid brass. They are e-coated. They're gold plated and then e-coated for anti-tarnish. So I'm kind of upping my game. I like to use findings that are a little bit better quality when I've invested in, you know, a semi-precious gemstone like the pearl. And then look how cool this disc bead is. You're going to be seeing these again because I did get a little quantity of these, and I am going to be doing some other designs with these, but I thought I would start with just the simplicity of just letting that disc just show. I just thought it was gorgeous. And I just took a bead cap, a solid brass bead cap, and one little 2mm crystal, just to add a tiny little sparkle to the top of that. And then I used my smallest size of my one-step looper, my 1.5mm, put my head pin in and just gently close the tool. I'm controlling it here, and I'm going to let it make a nice blunt cut for me with the back jaw of the plier. Slowly close it. I'll pull my stack of beads away, finish closing. That way I make sure that loop is centered on my stack, and I'm going to open it a little bit more and add my chain to this. and this is just 5 links of a solid brass chain from Purity Beads that I had left over from something. And then I'm going to take a little jump ring that I made. This is a little 3mm jump ring, just because I got these really pretty stardust little ball ear posts, and they are soldered. The loop on the ear post is soldered solid, and it can't be opened. So I have to, my chain also is a solid link chain, so I have to connect the chain to the earring post with a little jump ring. I didn't want it to really show too much, so I did the smallest jump ring I could muster. And I just want to make sure it's closed really well and kind of trick the eye that it's like a link of the chain. So that first little pair of earrings is done. I just love it. It looks contemporary to me. It has movement. It's still elegant. It's fun. It's everyday. Like, this is, to me, this is wearable every day. I would reach for these all the time. Hair up, hair down. I just think they're beautiful. Okay. We're going to move on. 2 of my earring designs are a little bit involved. This one is one of the involved ones. So I am using 2 stick pearls, and I made a whole bunch of little drops and connected my 2 stick pearls with some loops, but then hid the loops with this section of drops. And it is a mix of tiny little 3mm check glass beads, some 2mm Potomac pearls, those little crystals that I used in there. It's just a mix. So what I did is I started with some brass gold plated ball head pins, and before I had any beads on them, I took my Permalac coating and I just brushed them all with this anti-tarnish coating, and I set them down to dry. And then as I was making this earring so that I would have essentially the same drops, I just threaded on my different patterns, and I'll show you what they are. I did 15 all total. There's 15 little dangles on this earring, and there's going to be 15 on the second one. So some of them are just the ball head pin with a crystal. Some of them have a 2mm Potomac pearl and a crystal. Some of them have just a little check glass faceted round. And I just continued. I did a couple with 2 of the 2mm check glass pearls, and so they're all threaded and ready to turn into loops. And I'll show you what I did for those. I just took, because it's so fine, you can't use your one-step looper on really fine gauge wire. It just doesn't work. And I mean, I could have sat and wire wrapped these, but I really like being able to open the loop because it makes your attaching to the earring much easier. So I just put a little bend, and then I took my round nose pliers, and I didn't want too tiny of a loop because it's a little bit easier to do your connecting if your loop is a little bit bigger. But I'm just bringing that over the barrel, rotating it, and then bringing this around. Let me take my little tool off. Bringing this around and just, you know, making a nice neat loop, just centering it like that. And when I take my pliers away, then I snip the excess wire. I can link these ball head pins below as well. They are super, super fine gauge, but they work perfectly for something like this. So that's what my loop looks like, and it is ready to be attached. And I'm just going to do all of them. Just like that. Last one. Okay, and now I am going to prepare my Baroque stick pearls, and I'll just show you what I did on these. So they're all going to be different. No two are alike with this type of pearl, but I ordered, I think, 6 of them, and I laid them out and chose the kind of largest ones for the weightiness to be on the bottom of the earring, and the 2 that were the closest in size and thinness and even in shape for the top part of the earring. So when they're all embellished, as I have done, they will match pretty well, even though they're very organic and free form and natural pearls. So I'm going to start with another one of those brass ball head pins, put that through my pearl, and once again I'm going to come with my 1.5 millimeter one-step looper and just put a nice simple loop and turn that pearl into a drop. And then on the top one, I had to go down to 22 gauge wire, and I'm using my Soft Flex 22 gauge with the anti-tarnish coating, and I'm going to start by putting a wire wrapped loop in. So I'm going to start on my bottom loop for this top component, and normally when I do earrings I do my best to make both of the loops the same, but in this case I want this loop to be pretty small because I'm trying to make this connection point really disappear. I still want the earring to articulate, but I want to cover up the joint where the 2 stick pearls meet, if that makes sense. So I'm going to come down pretty small on my round nose pliers and just do a wire wrapped loop. This loop is really not going to be seen again, but I tend to make my jewelry really neat, but with the Baroque pearls and mixing in contemporary shapes and lines, meteorite beads, that kind of thing, you really could do messy wraps or chunky wraps where you wrap on top, wrap down and then wrap back on top of those wires, your first coil. It's just really up to you, but this is my style. I tend to do things this way, and I did give myself a little bit extra of this wire so that I can embellish back down the pearl. So now I'm going to feed the pearl on. This is my bottom loop, so I'm going to look at my pearl and decide I want this to be the top of this component and this fatter side to be the bottom, and I think it's just my design background. I look at the weightier, the heavier, chunky things. I tend to think they look better on the bottom, so a design doesn't look top heavy. And then I'm going to come to the top here and do another wire wrapped loop, but I want to make this one a little bit bigger. This is the one that will get attached to my ear wire, so you can't see the one that's connecting the 2 stick pearls, but I just wanted that one to be just, kind of a normal size loop. So I'm going to come a little bit further down on my barrel of my round nose plier and do the same thing over the top barrel, rotate it out of my way, bring this wire around, take a minute to center that loop on the pearl, on the wire, and that's pretty good. It matches the other one really well. And here's where this extra wire comes into play. I'm going to wrap down to my pearl neatly, just like a little coil, one wrap laying right underneath the next until I reach the top of my pearl. And then if I can, I like to mirror my earrings, and it looks like I would have to, looks like on this one, let me get it straight. Looks like I am not going to be able to do that on this one because of the direction. There's a natural path to my wire, and it would be a little weird for me to try to get in the opposite direction. But I'm also going to just look at my pearl here before I wrap it into place. These Baroque pearls are so gorgeous. So I'm just going to choose the side just choose the side that I want it to be on. I think that's pretty, very pretty. Okay, and now I'm just going to get a hold of this, and I'm going to do my best to copy this side if I can. I'm going to go behind and just make this 22 gauge wire dance around this pearl. And I did 3 spirals on that one, so I'm going to try to also get 3 in this pearl so my earrings will coordinate. Bring it back around to the back, and now I'm just going to, that looks pretty good. Just get it around there and snip. Perfect. And like I said, this is mostly going to get covered up, so I'm just going to tuck, just because, you know, it's good not to have anything sharp on an earring, but it's mostly going to get covered up. And before I start connecting and embellishing, as is my habit, I'm just going to take a second to align everything. It's only 22 gauge wire, so you know it shifts pretty easily when you're working with it. That looks amazing. I love it. Okay, now I'm going to open this pearl and attach the 2. And we can go ahead and attach it to the ear wire as well. Then I'll be able to look at how things are dangling compared to the other earring as I add in my cluster section. And I do want to, I don't know if the camera, if you can really see, but that's the back side of my wraps where I trimmed off, and that's the front side. So it's just a detail, but I'm connecting it to my ear wire in that direction wherever possible. I try to make my work look seamless, and honestly, it's so gorgeous. You could be done right there. That's just so gorgeous. But I love the embellishment. So what I did is I started, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but I started by putting 2 check glass beads at the very bottom and around the circumference. So let me get one of those tiny little check glass beads and kind of show you what I did to start filling up my intersection here. I started by putting this not through the loop, but around, it wants to go in the loop, but around the base of that simple loop. And that just gives me more places to fill it up with, because you're only going to be able to fit so many wires through a simple loop, and then it's going to be full and things won't dangle anymore. So in order to fit more charms in, I just, you know, use the space beneath the loop. Can you see? And then I'm going to add another one that way. And also when I was making these simple loops, I did some of them with a little bit larger, like I went a little further down on the barrel of my round nose pliers and made it so that the loops are just a little bit larger, because I also went around this part of the top, you know, of the top pearl as I worked my way up, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's easier just to show what you're doing and not explain it. But that's what I did, and just get my pliers in there to make sure those loops are closed really well, touching. And I'm just going to fill this up with these little charms that I made. It's pretty random, so it's, you know, it's not too difficult, but it was so fun to fill this earring up and just watch it come to life as I added these in. So I'm just going to keep going. Last one, I found a little spot for it. Oh my goodness, this is so gorgeous. Look at this. It's spiky and beautiful, and I love the texture of the crystals, the 2mm pearls, and the faceted check glass rounds. So pretty. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to wear these earrings. Aren't they gorgeous? So the second pair is done. And the next pair that is least involved is a column or a bar component. I just did like a little sample here to show you where I'm going with it, but this is a essentially head pin, a spiral head pin embellished with a pearl that I made, and then I fed on a check glass pearl to that, and then this little bar, which is solid brass and e-coated, to the top of that. But I found these spacer beads that have little acrylic pearls around the edge of the gold, and just in playing with my stacks, I noticed that it fits perfectly over the bar and looks like a little crown on that pearl. So I'm going to show you how I do these types of head pins. I'm going to save that wire for that. I cut 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire, my soft flex wire, that are exactly the same length. I don't know that that matters so much. The trick to these when you're doing it as earrings is to get your spiral head pins to look as much the same as possible. That's what I always find a little bit tricky. So let's see, is that my end that I did the blunt cuts on? This is the end. I did 2 really nice blunt cuts on this end, and I'll do one. Sometimes I'll do 2 or 3 and choose the 2 that look the best as far as matching for the earrings. And I'll just say here, pretty much anything that you do as an earring could make a stunning pendant. So like that would be a beautiful drop from a necklace. This would certainly be a beautiful drop if you are making a minimalist, smaller, you know, a smaller necklace. And you'll see the next one as well would be really, really pretty. So I'm going to start with a little 4mm pearl and just kind of get that on my wire. And this is a little bit tricky to start. Still see, I need to want a blunt cut on the end. It's a little bit tricky to start. I'm going to take really any plier and really just get this wire to kind of go around the pearl. A lot of times when I need to put pressure on a bead, I'll get my nylon jaw pliers to do that for me. And my nylon jaw pliers are long overdue for me to unscrew that and put a new jaw in. That needs to be my #1 project for 2025, is to tidy up my nylon jaw pliers. So I'm just taking my time and I'm just getting this wire to go around the bead. I don't want to break my glass pearl, so just go slow. This is going to be the center of the head pin, so really take your time on this part. I think I can get it even closer. And it is a little tricky to get started making a spiral around a bead. There's not much to hold on to, but bent chain nose pliers are good. And I'm just going to start making a spiral just like we normally would, but I'm going around this pearl, just grabbing the edge and just push it against my finger, just in small increments, just the same way, working my way around the pearl, just the same way that we do when we're making, you know, any kind of a spiral. It's just a little tricky because there's a bead in there, and the bead takes your spot for holding on. but just do little at a time, and after you go around a couple of times, it gets easier and easier. And then you can keep going with this until it's the size that you like. And I even thought about taking my hammer and flattening my spiral, which will splay it a little bit. It's going to spread out the coil. It's going to make it a little bit rigid. When you hammer, you definitely change the structure of the wire. And I was thinking about doing that just to make it more organic and more artisan. I love the hammered look. And let's see, I think I might just do that. Let me find a good stopping point. I'm going to bring, so you're going to turn this into a head pin. So you want to stop coiling where you want your head pin to go straight up. And I think I want to be, let's see, do I want to be at the top of this pearl or at the, do I want to do it this way? Yeah, I think I'm going to coil just around to the top here. Just going to come right to the top of my pearl with my wraps. And so when you are where you want to be, just get your plier in there when you're where you want to be, and just bend that wire straight up. Okay, so you just made a head pin, and I'm just going to get this nice and straight so it's ready for my stack of beads. And like I said, you could be done right there if you wanted to, but I think I'm going to play with hammering this. It will definitely spread it out. I will have to be careful. I think I will use my riveting hammer. Let me clear away some things here. My little bench block right here, and I'll use my riveting hammer because it has a pretty small surface. And then I'm just going to hang my pearl over the edge of my bench block and just slowly work my way around. It doesn't take much. I love to hammer my wire. Just work my way around. Careful not to hit your bead because you can, it's glass. Look how cool that looks. I'm going to turn it on the other side. Do that same thing. I love it. I think that looks amazing. You can make your final adjustments. That looks so cool. And I'm going to do my other one before I create my earring, just because I find that for me, when I am making earrings like this, if I do them at the same time, I do a better job of getting them exactly the same. So I'm going to repeat that same thing, put my pearl on, and just do that again. Okay, I hope the noise outside will not be too distracting, but I really want to finish these earrings. So I have both of these. I'm probably going to string them so that they're mirrored. I just like to do that with my earrings where possible. I love the hammered look. I think it's amazing. And so now this is just really simple stringing. I'm going to take one of these 10mm check glass pearls and put that on the head pin that I made, maybe. Okay, and just string that down. Look at that, it's so gorgeous. Makes me so happy. And then I'm gonna put my cylinder bead, my brass cylinder bead, and then one of these beautiful little round disc spacers with a pearl embellishment around the edge. Just let that drop down, and look at that, you guys. It's so amazing. It's so simple but so amazing. And then I am going to take my 1.5mm one-step looper and just put a simple loop right in. I had to take a pause because my neighbor is doing some kind of construction, but I did both earrings exactly the same. And what I was going to show you is that by not putting an ear wire on these, I have some options in styling. So I make these interchangeable hoop earrings, or yeah, they're like hoop earrings, and I make these, and I have a video on these, and I can link those underneath the description box of this video. But my simple loop that I put at the top of this earring design can thread right on there, and I have this really contemporary, because I did this in kind of a contemporary shape, kind of an oval. I love these ear wires. I love making them. They're super easy. You can use 20 gauge or 18 gauge wire for those. But I also have my gold-filled interchangeable lever back ear wires. And so this is what I was wearing the other day, so they're still on there. But I can take these and also thread my loop fits right in that little cradle and thread them right on, put them in my ears, snap them closed, and I can wear them that way. I just love these. And then a third option is to use a kidney style ear wire. These I found on Beadbox Bargains, the sister website to Bargain Beadbox. It's just a kidney shaped wire, and it has the little groove in there for your drops to fit in, and this one is embellished with some crystals. And so, you know, I really like not putting an ear wire on every one of these Reimagined pearls, because as I work on this series, I imagine I'll be making more interesting designs, and then I don't need an ear wire every time. But the other reason that I'm not going to put an ear wire on this particular pair is because I am going to maybe be able to have another style option with my last earring. This is what the last earring looks like. I used another one of those rods, and I used some freshwater pearls in a couple of colors and a little tiny brass spacer bead that I had in my stash, made from the same brass as this rod. And what I was thinking is, by not putting an ear wire on these, since they both have the commonality of that bar, that I could wear this in one ear and this in another ear, and have, you know, an asymmetrical pair of earrings. I don't do that very much personally, but I kind of like it, and I like it with the gold and the pearl, and it is something that I see on the runway models a lot. And these aren't too crazy. You know, I've seen where one has like a chain or a long drop that goes all the way down to the model's belt, and then the other earring is completely plain or just has a stud. So I probably would never do that, but this I might actually do. It's very chic, it's very contemporary and modern, and I think it's fun. So I won't be putting an ear wire on this earring either, and I'll show you what I am using on that. I did my loop just like we did on the others with the 20 gauge wire, and this is a little mix of freshwater pearls. You can see there's pink and lavender, some silver, some white, and I actually found this at at Michael's, and it's a little semi-precious blend of pearls freshwater pearls. The colorway is called lavender. They're 4 to 5 millimeter, but as you can see, there's some lavenders, there's peach in there, and I just love that mix. And I love the mix for this style of an earring where we're going to be making some loops. It's just so pretty. And then I mixed it in with some little blush colored freshwater pearls. Oh, I kept pausing because of my neighbor. I have a bad neighbor. He has 2 really big dogs, and they bark at everything at all hours of the day and night. And he screams at them, and I don't know, he's noisy. But as I started to share, I am going to put a simple loop in a length of 20 gauge wire, and that's how this earring starts. And I do want this loop to be closed and work hardened really well. And then I'm going to take one of my bars, my downward bars, and feed the wire through. And then I'm just going to bend the wire so that this is nice and tight. And the reason I'm doing that and not putting another loop in the bottom is that I engineered this pair of earrings so that it looks like the loops of pearls are just spilling out of this skinny little rod. I just thought it was really chic and contemporary, and not hanging from another loop. It looks a little mysterious to me, like, how is that happening in that earring? And I love that little bit of movement, and it's just stunning. So all I did is put a bend in my wire just so that it doesn't come out. And then I just came right here and just trimmed my wire away. So I just have that, and it's not going to go anywhere. But what I did on my other one is I just used the little edge of the bar and my pliers to just really snuggle that wire down and make sure that my loop is going to stay in the bar. And then I took a big eye needle and opened it up, and I used some fire line that I just had in my stash. It's not that hard, guys, to open a big eye needle. If you've never seen these before, it's a really thin little needle that you can open down the middle, so it's really easy to thread it. And I just took a length enough for 3 loops, as well as some back and forth up and down the rod. And I just secured this. I'll show you exactly what I did, and then I'll do the stringing off camera. But I started with making my my first loop pattern, and it's about 9 pearls. And I did start with a gold metal bead, and it is about 9 pearls. These are much smaller, so I mixed these in, and it's very random. The colors and all these cool different shapes, very random. And I did look for like really the smallest ones that were in my collection for the part that comes right out of the top. And I'm just going to thread like this, a brass bead and a pearl until I get the length of my loop. And this is another design that you could definitely alter it to your own liking if you like the design. But say you wanted it bigger, you could do much longer and more dramatic loops, or you could do really tiny little loops, or you could just do one. If the cluster of loops is too much for you, you could just do 1 loop coming out of the bottom of the bar. It's just a really cool adjustable design. Okay, so now that I have my first loop created, and I did do 9 just because they're very random and they won't turn out to be exactly the same length loop because all of the pearls are different shapes and sizes. But with 9 pearls, you end up with 1 at the bottom of the loop, and it just looks really pretty. So now I'm going to just feed my needle and thread up to the loop at the top of the earring, and I'm going to switch my, I don't think I can get it through without a needle, but I'll try. I just want to feed this end up through the tube as well. See if it goes. Oh yeah, it goes. Perfect. And I'm just going to make a loop like that. Can kind of, you know, match it up to the first one. And I do want to leave a little bit of a tail because I'm going to be tying at the top. And I don't need to do overkill, but I do want to leave myself a little bit of space to tie with. That's good. And I'm just going to come right here and just do a couple of overhand knots. I like to put glue in a project like this, so when I'm all finished with my 3 loops and I've done, you know, tied off at the top and then gone back down the tube, I'll come back. I did on this one, you can't even see it, I put a little GS Hypo Cement right at the top, and I just feel good about it. I like to do the glue, and then I'm just going to take that needle and get back down to the bottom to create my second loop. Just kind of wiggle it through there. You'll see, like, you know, the tube isn't filled yet, the bar, I mean, it's not filled yet, so it's pretty easy. By the time you get to the 3rd loop, you have to do a little more wiggling to get it through, but as you can see, I was able to do it. And I'm just going to continue in that way, starting with a little brass bead, and then starting with, I continually started with my smaller pearls, just so my loops wouldn't be too crowded where it is exiting the bar. And I'm just going to create 3 loops that way, and, you know, go back up, tie off, go back down, and I'll do that off camera so you won't be bored watching this beading process, and come back and show you the finish. I'm just going to tie this a couple of times, and then I will use my beader's glue, put a little dot there, go ahead and trim, and this little, essentially a stringing project, but, you know, like a small stringing project, so fun. This is GS Hypo Cement. This is a good glue for knots because it doesn't dry crunchy hard like super glue. You could also use E6000. The name didn't come to me, but I like this one. It dries pretty quick, it's clear, and it does a good job keeping the knots from, you know, working their way apart as you wear it. And especially since I'm going to take these on and off of ear wires, I'll let that dry, and then I'm going to trim that a little bit closer. But look at this, you guys. I am so crazy about actually all of these designs. I love them. I think they turned out great. I think they're very modern, but they still feel classy and elegant and not weird. You know, sometimes contemporary designs can feel a little weird, a little strange, but I think these are amazing and innovative, you know, and just clever and unique. And I just can't, I don't think you'll be seeing anybody else with a pair of earrings like this. So I hope that you'll subscribe to my channel and that you'll tap the bell notification. A thumbs up is always appreciated. I am already working on bracelet designs, necklace designs, some pendants to add to this series. I'm not even sure what the next video up will be because I have so many reimagined pearl designs in my head, but this is like so fun. I'm really excited about working on this in the coming year. I will put some pictures up at the end, and I thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're all safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, friends.